My name is Chetan and welcome back to my video series. In this video, today we're gonna talk about how do we interact with Excel sheets, okay, or Excel workbooks with Java basically, right? So let's get started, okay? Now so far we have seen that using core Java, okay, we can create classes, we can create methods. Then we also talked about what are access modifiers and what is exception handling. Now, in order to interact with Excel sheet, okay, you need to download certain external jars. Okay, why? Because of course, interaction with Excel sheet is not within the scope of JDK. So, in order to write data or read data from Excel sheet, we need support of external jars, right? So somebody in this world has created one utility and he has put together the entire code in a single jar called as Apache POI, right? So with the help of Apache POI jars, we are going to interact with basically Excel sheets, Excel workbooks. Okay. Now, of course, if you want to import these jars in our project, we should be downloading them, right? So just go to Google and simply say download Apache POI jar, right? So the very first link which you see here, Apache POI download release artifacts, just click on that link and you will be directed to a download tab here if you see. And if you scroll down under binary description, there's one zip file here basically. Okay, so you need to download this zip file, right? Now when you click on that zip file, it will take you to this particular page. Herein you have to select a mirror image basically, so you can download this jar from any one of these resources. Let me select the first one. Okay, and when you click on the first one, it is going to download the jars for you. Okay, these are 28 MB. I already have them on my machine, so I'll simply cancel it. Okay, now when you do that, so you should get one zip file something like this. Let me show you. Where it is, 1 second. Yeah, so if you see, you should get a zip file like this. This is the older version of POI. It is 3.15, but the current version is 3.17. Okay, now when you download this, the first task you have to do is you have to unzip this basically. Okay, so what I did, if you see, I have unzipped this particular file in my jars folder like this. Okay, and if you open this file, it has got a lot of jars in it. Okay, if you see at this POI 3.17 level, you have got these many jars, correct? Then under OOXML again you have got these jars, right? And under libs again you have got these jars. Okay, now let's try and understand how, if I write some data in the Excel sheet, or if I want to write or if I want to read data from the Excel sheet, how these classes from these jars will help us in doing that. Okay, so let me create the Excel sheet first. Okay, let's say in this Excel sheet, what I'm going to do, I'm going to put some data. Let's say I have employee ID. Okay, then I have employee name, then city and zip code. Let's say this is the data I have with me. Okay, let's say employee is 1816, name is, let's say, Ashish. Okay, city is Pune and 411014, right? I have 2416, let's say Rajesh, Mumbai, and some pin code like this. Okay, then I have, let's say, Ajay, Bangalore, and some again some zip code like this. Okay, so let's say I have an Excel sheet having this data. Okay, now let's go to Eclipse and create one brand new project. Okay, what I'm going to do here, just say right click, new, and Java project. Okay, give some name, meaningful name to this project. I'm going to say here, let's say this is module 7 Excel read write. Okay, and just say finish. Okay, so here it is, the project got created. Now the first task we have to do is we need to import the jars we have just downloaded. So just right click on this project, go to build path, configure build path, go to libraries, and say add external jars. Now in the latest versions of Eclipse you might see a module path and class path, so click on the class path here and then say add external jars. Okay, so I have said add external jars. Now I'll go to the folder jars where I've kept those jars basically. So I have put them in the jars, and I'll go to the folder POI where I have all the jars. Now I need to add all the jars. Please be noted here. Okay, you need to add all the jars. So I'm gonna add jars at POI 3.17 level. Just say open, again hit add external jars, go to this subfolder. Now again select all of them, hit enter, again go to the libs folder and say control all and hit enter. So this is how you have added all the jars from the Apache POI which you have downloaded from internet. Correct, just say apply and close. Now whenever you add jars from the external sources, you should see those jars coming under reference libraries in your project, right? And these are the JDK jars basically. Okay, now let's try to create one simple package. So I'm gonna say package 1 read Excel. Sorry, my bad, I give a wrong name, like this. Okay, under this let's create a simple example, read example 1. Okay, now I'm gonna create a main method, so just write down main words, just say control space. Okay, and here you got the main method as well. Okay, now what I will do, first of all I will try to save this file in this project itself. Okay, so that it would be very easy for us to read this file, or you can save it anywhere you want on your machine, doesn't matter. Okay, what I would do, first of all I would go to properties and I would copy the path of this project. Correct, this is the path. Correct, and then I'm gonna save this file under this path. Okay, I'll just save with the name test data. This is the workbook name, correct? And just say save here. So if you see now test data.xlsx with sheet 1 having some data, and I have saved it in this project. Now it won't get reflect in the project automatically. You need to right click and say refresh here. Then if you see here, just a second, still no, something I did something wrong here, 1 minute. Let me do save as. Okay, copy this one. Okay, yeah, and now let's try to save this. Here we go. Do you see? So I have saved that file in the project itself. You are seeing these two files just because the file is locked, it's already open, so it will show two files, doesn't matter. Okay, now what I'm going to do here, now I will try to perform a read operation on this Excel book. Okay, now just one concept I want to explain here. Now let's say this is your Excel sheet. Correct, it has got what, basically it has got rows and columns basically, right? So these are my columns and these are my rows. Correct, this is my Excel sheet. Now if you want to perform a read operation, right, if you want to perform a read operation or a write operation, basically you need certain streams to do this action basically. Okay, so let's say this is my read operation and this is my write operation. Okay, now in order to perform the read operation basically, okay, and in order to perform the write operation, sorry, I'll take this arrow. Okay, now in order to perform a read operation, you need to take the help of something called as file input stream, right? And in order to take the write operation, you need to take the help of file output stream. Now of course you might be having a question why we need streams. So basically we are trying to write some data on a physical file here, right, which you have created. It's not in the memory. So the write operation is performed through these streams. It's basically for writing your data from your memory in the file in the form of some stream. It's a medium basically, right? So your data gets written onto a file in the form of bytes, right? Now, right? So what I'm going to do here, first of all, I'm going to create file input stream. FIS equals to new file input stream, and I will say, let's say, read excel.xls. This is the file I want to create. Now whenever you are using any classes, you all have always you need to import them. So I'm gonna say import here, right? Now this is a checked exception. Okay, so you need to handle it. So I'm gonna put a try and catch around this. Okay, like this. Just a control I to indent your code, right? Now in order to work with Excel sheet, you have to keep certain things in mind. Okay, logically if I want to work with any workbook, I need to get the handle of workbook first, right? Then I need to get the hold of sheet, then I need to get the hold of row, then the column, and then I'm going to perform a read operation, basically read or write operation, right? Logically that's what we do even manually, right? We open the workbook first, then we go to the respective sheet, then we go to get hold of some row, and then we read the data basically, right? That's what we have to do in our Java code, right? So I've opened the file input stream. Now I'm gonna use a class XSSF workbook. Okay, workbook, new of XSSF workbook. So XSSF Workbook is a class provided by your Apache POI, which we have downloaded from internet. It's not from JDK. Okay, so you need to import this class first, and if you see, it's getting imported from your Apache POI, right? Now pass this file input stream to this XSSF workbook basically, correct? So this is how we got the handle of workbook here. Can I say here get hold of workbook, right? Then after this I want to get the sheet. So on this WB, because I already have the workbook, so on this workbook I'm gonna say here workbook dot get sheet. And what sheet you want to get? Sheet 1, let's say. You can also get the sheet with index as well. Okay, and give the reference as sheet, let's say like this. Okay, again import this class. So I got my sheet as well. Now on this sheet I'm gonna get row. Okay, and row always starts with index 0 basically. So if I want to get hold of this row, it is 0th index basically, right? Now again assign it to reference XSSF row R. Okay, then I got the row, and then basically on this row again I want to get the cell. So again cell also starts with 0. Okay, so you'll say 0 here, XSSF cell C, like this, and then I'm gonna perform a read operation here. So if you see here, you need to get hold of workbook, sheet, row, cell, and then you need to fire the operation. Now let's say I'm gonna fire C get string value, and let me do a sysout. Okay, once my work is done, I'm gonna close this workbook. So I'll say dot close, right? And let's try to run this code now. So if you see, when I run this code, just a second. Sorry, my bad. The Excel sheet name here is test data basically, right? Now let's try to execute. So if you see, the first cell was read from the Excel sheet as employee ID basically, correct? Now, now let's say, now if you see, I'm firing a method as get string cell value, but that may not be the case all the time, right? This data could be string, it could be integer. So let's, for now I'll put it as a 1 2 3 4 5. Let's save this workbook and let's try to execute this program. I'll put a eprint status, so you would get to see the error as well. Okay, and let's try to execute it now. So if you see here, exception was created at which line? Basically line number 20. If you see, so while reading the cell, it has thrown an exception, and the exception is showing that I cannot read string value from a numeric cell. So if you see, this is a numeric cell and you're trying to fire a string method, so it's wrong, right? So ideally, before you even perform a read operation on the Excel sheet here on a specific cell, you need to find its type basically. Okay, cell type needs to be determined, correct? It's DET, correct? So the point here is you cannot always fire get string cell value. If the cell has numeric value, you have to fire a respective numeric method. If it's a string, you should fire a string method. If it's boolean, you should fire a boolean method. Okay, so now what I'm going to do here, in the same code I will write a code to determine the type of my cell first. Okay, so I'll take a help of switch case here. Okay, and this is the cell basically, right, whose type I want to determine first before I fire a method. So I'll take this C here and I'm going to say C get cell type basically. So I'm finding the type of this cell first, and is this type equal to string, then fire, I'm gonna say here C dot get string cell value. Again I'm gonna have another case. Okay, and I'll say cell dot get string numeric. Is it numeric? Then I'm gonna say here, if it is numeric, then fire sys out C dot get numeric cell value, correct? Like this. So what I did basically, I'm trying to find a type first and then I'm firing a respective method basically. Okay, just a second. Get string cell value, like this is a method. Okay, and now if you see, now I'll put a breakpoint at line number 18 and let's run it in a debug mode. So if you see, my program has stopped here. Let me do a step over. So I've come here. Now I'm gonna do a step over, and if you see, it has jumped to a numeric block. Why? Because the cell is numeric, right? And then the numeric value is read here, and then sorry, I forgot to comment out this line. Now it's gonna give me exception. Now we cannot fire a generic statement, as I said, right? Now the reason you are getting this dot zero, so it always reads this value in the form of double, so you need to typecast it to basically integer. And now if I execute this program, see, a value is getting read like this, correct? Now let me change it to employee ID again, and again rerun this program. So this time it is a string, so this code gets executed. See, so my code is working for both the cases. Now let's say I want to read the entire Excel. So how do I do that? So it's very simple. You need to get certain things here. So what I'm gonna do here, once I get the sheet here, I'm gonna get the number of rows here, right? Row count of this sheet. So there's a method on your sheet, get last row number, right? I got the row count. Now I'm gonna say here for int I equals to 0, I is less than your get last, sorry, row count, and then I plus plus. Basically this is a loop of what you're basically row, right? And then within this loop I'm gonna say here get the first row with I basically, right? Now once you get the row, you need to find out how many columns are there in that row, right? For example, like this. So you got the number of rows here, you need to move it to vertically as well. How many columns are there in each row, right? So what you're going to do here, once you get the row, get the last cell number, okay? And I'm going to say here int, this is my column count basically, correct? So now I know the row number, I know the count number, sorry, column count. So again I'm going to put another loop, int j equals to 0, j is less than, let's say, column count, okay, and j plus plus, like this. So this is a loop for what, guys? This is a loop for your columns basically, okay? And then finally you need to have this code as well, correct? So I'll copy this code and I'll shift it over here, because you need to get cell one by one. So I'm gonna say here J here now, and then once you get the cell, get its type, okay? And once you find the type, you need to fire the respective method basically, right? So I'm gonna say here this is my columns loop end, this is my row loop end, right? Now if you execute this code now, you would see all the data is being read here, correct? Now it's the read operation is happening line by line, right? And the each cell is coming on different row. So let me remove this ln so that it won't go to next line. And once the one row is over, I'm gonna just print an empty line here, okay? See, now the data is coming properly, but there's no space, so I'm gonna just here a plus some space here so that we should see data properly, okay? Now if I do a read operation, see, the data is coming properly. So what I did here basically, let me repeat, I got the hold of workbook, I got the hold of sheet, then I found how many rows this sheet has. I have opened a for loop for number of rows, then I'm getting hold of each row. On that each row I'm finding how many columns it has, and then again I have a loop for columns, I'm finding its type, and then I'm printing the value basically. After finding the type, I'm firing the respective method, and that is how I'm executing the code. right? I hope you have understood how to read Excel sheet basically, right? Okay. Now, of course, if you want to add another logic to it, that if you want to filter out names having so and so number, you can definitely add that logic over here basically when you are reading the data. Correct? Now, let's move on. Now, how do I perform a write operation? So I'm going to create another package, package 2, and I'll say write Excel sheet. Okay. So as I mentioned in this diagram, for write, you need to take help of file output stream, right? So what I'm going to do here, I'll create new class example. Let's say this is my write example 1. Correct? So I'm going to take help of your main. Now again same, will get work hold of workbook XSSF workbook. Okay, let's say WB new of XSSF workbook like this. Now here we don't have the Excel sheet ready with us, right? We need to create it, so we cannot pass any path here itself, right? Let me take this code in try catch block. It's a good practice to enclose entire code in try catch block and have your e dot print stack trace. So in case if any exception is generated, you would see the print stack trace. Now since this is a write operation, of course there is no Excel sheet here, right? You are creating it, so you're gonna say wb dot create a sheet like this, and you can give a name of your sheet. Let's say my data sheet 1 like this. Okay, give the reference to, let's say, sheet here. Okay, you're creating. Please note the difference between read and write operation. In read you already have a workbook, but in case of write you're creating a workbook. So I'm not given any name here, I'm creating a sheet here. So every every get method would be replaced by create. Okay, now in this sheet I'm gonna create, let's say, row. So I'll say create a row number 0 I want to create. Okay, and for this row I want to create certain cells. So I'm gonna say here r dot create cell 0 cell I want to create. Okay, okay, and then on this cell I want to write certain data basically. Okay, so I'm gonna say here c dot set cell value. Okay, now if you see set cell value is a overloaded method, you can pick any one of them. Let's say I'll take, say, string hello how are you like this. Okay, here in this case we don't need to find its type. Basically you can straight away write the data in the Excel cell. Okay, now once you're done with writing, so similarly of course I will write the code to write some more cells. Okay, and once the write operation is done, it's everything is in the memory so far. Okay, you need to actually push the data to a physical file, so you need to take the help of file output stream here. In order to write this data to a file, you need to take help of output stream. Okay, so I'm going to create a file output stream, specify the name. Let's say write excel.xlsx. This is the file I want to create basically. Okay, so I've created a name here. And then guys, okay, you have to say here, take the reference of WB. Using this WB reference, perform the write operation. WB dot write, and this write will take the reference of FOS. So this is where you are doing an actual write operation, and then close the workbook. Now when you specify a path like this, then your file gets created at your project level. If you specify the entire path of some different drive, the file would be created at that specific space. Okay, So it's up to you where you want to create the file. Okay, if you don't specify any path, it gets created at the project level. Now let me execute this program. See, the program execution is over here, and if I refresh my project, see, the workbook got created. And let me show you. I'll open this workbook and I'll show you. See, this is the data which is written to your Excel sheet. Basically, this is the cell I wrote, right? Correct. I hope you have understood this read write operation. So I'm just giving an example on how to write a single cell, but you can take a two-dimensional array and you can try to write that array into a workbook. Okay, for example, let me show you another example. For example, you have a two-dimensional array, let's say like this. I'm gonna create object array data new of. Okay, let's say you have an array of 2 by 3. Okay, and you're gonna have 0 0, let's say the name employee, let's say 1816, like this. Okay, and let's say the name is Chen. Okay, and so just create one two-dimensional array like this, and let's say Pune. Okay, this is one data set. You have another data set, let's say like this, 111. Let's say this is 9817, some number. Okay, let's say this is Rakesh, Mumbai. Okay, let's say you have a data like this. Okay, and then write this data in Excel workbook. Okay, this is a data you have, data in the form of two-dimensional array, and you want to write this two-dimensional array data basically into a workbook. Okay, so how to do this? Basically, of course, you need loops. Basically, you need to know how to read this array, and then how you can write down that into a workbook basically. Okay, you can just give it a try. Okay, anyways, if you're not able to do it, let me know. I'll help you solve this problem. Okay, so let me quickly summarize what we have learned so far. So in order to interact with Excel sheet, okay, we need something called as Apache POI jars. Okay, we downloaded these jars from internet. Okay, or in future when we will see Maven, we can define the dependencies as well for Maven. Then we saw how to perform a read operation. So in order to perform read operation, we need something called as file input stream. Okay, in order to perform a write operation, we need file output stream. Okay, then we need to get hold of workbook first, sheet, then row, then cell, and then perform the read write operation. While performing the read operation, we also saw that we need to find the type of cell, and then only we can fire the respective method basically, right? So where we gonna use this? So basically, what is the significance of read write in from an automation perspective? So whenever we create frameworks, we keep test data of our test cases in the Excel sheet, and then we write methods to read this data. So our methods for reading and writing data, they would be like this only. Basically, we need to enclose this in a proper method basically. Okay. Alright, so that's it from this module of performing a read write through Excel sheet. Yeah. Alright then. Thanks a lot. We'll stop here. Bye bye.